Welcome back. On the show today, I have Robert Galarza, CEO of TruTrace Technologies. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So some big news.
Yeah, it's been a busy year.
Yeah.
need to say the least. It's been a while since I've been in here, and a lot has happened since then.
So what's on my mind is Shoppers. You just struck a deal for a second phase. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we got introduced to the guys at Shoppers Drug Mart about a little over a year ago actually. And amazingly enough, when you kind of look at the cannabis space, when Shoppers came to the forefront, the biggest pharmacy in Canada, definitely the biggest company in terms of market cap and active, profits month over month, year over year, 50-year history. To get in the cannabis space was pretty amazing, right? What really blew us away was their knowledge. They had really been active in this space for 6 years, and we've been inactive for 8 years, so we're all old men in the cannabis world.
Yeah.
And when we really dug under the hood of some of the problems they were running into, our solution in terms of what we were looking to do around really granular asset product management and data around the things that they usually get when it comes to medicine is scan a DIN and they get everything. And that's the crazy thing too, pharmacists even in the medical space, they're the most knowledgeable folks in the health industry overall, more than doctors, about medicines themselves. So they really looked at this industry and were like, we need a really detailed level of granularity, and we need better visibility of what our suppliers are up to, and really get some clarity on these medications. And that was really exciting for us because, obviously working with a big company like that's amazing, but also it's about really expanding the medical market, which is what our objective is overall.
Well, let's take a step back. Not everyone knows about your company, TruTrace. You're a SaaS company and built on blockchain. Can you talk a little bit about your platform?
Yeah, so when we first built the solution, it was all about how can we take and aggregate the detailed data, motion and movement data, supply chain information on the cannabis products, right? And blockchain obviously got really exciting. Our first name was actually Blockstream originally. We got that excited about it back in 2017 when we first started the company. We really fell in love with the kind of the hyperledger type fabrics, the trusted solutions, et cetera. Didn't really fall into the ICO tokenization side of things. I used to be a lawyer, so I was always scared of securities fraud type stuff.
Makes sense.
It kind of freaked me out. But what we did know was incredible data management, security, robust solution, decentralization on when you've got a lot of information coming in. And once we start actually tracking individual data on every single product, that data becomes very, very expansive. So that's where we used to implement kind of the backbone of blockchain into what we have from an inventory and a testing, we'll call it as a smart hub solution that lives in the middle between the suppliers and the labs and the distributors and the regulatory bodies and anybody else who needs the information.
Well, it makes sense to me. It sounds like you also have a partnership now with Deloitte. Can you talk about that relationship?
Yeah, so not a lot of people know this, right? Deloitte is, they see the big name.
Well, that's why you're here.
Yeah, see the big name, and they're one of the big four, and and Deloitte is definitely, I would say, from one of the big consulting companies globally. They're again leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else in terms of comprehension and understanding in the cannabis space. Again, the work we started doing, they're coming in and helping oversee some project management on phase 2, because we're still a tech company, right? There's only so much we can handle, and once you start onboarding, a number of participants and stakeholders, and managing these projects, the managed services aspect of their business is really a big thing that we were excited about on the Shoppers initiative. And then beyond that, we saw just a mutual partnership that worked, and so we're now taking this globally. We're taking it, and obviously not right away, but what it allows us to do is get in the rooms that we need to be getting into
a lot faster.
And
the relationships are already there.
Exactly, and leveraging the platform for being able to really resolve the use case, which again, the issue Deloitte deals with as as a forensics organization and risk management is how are we actually letting this industry get structured if the data on the inventory, as we've seen recently with a lot of recent news, if there's issues there, we need some better clarity. And if we can focus on the asset side and then focus on the individual side, then hopefully we can let the entire industry have more information for being able to get this thing not just stabilized but really grow it. That's really our overall objective.
Terrific. So it sounds like the platform you started in 2017, is that right?
Yeah, so this company, we've been in the space for about 8 years, my partner and I, all the way down in California in the wild rodeo that it is still. I still live in Los Angeles, so it's still crazy down there. We came to Canada in 2015, really focusing on the inventory, smart hub, solution around really being able to manage granular data on the assets. the problem we ran into was the most important information, which was what is the product, right? And that's what led into what became Blockstrain initially, and now is TruTrace Technologies, is the focusing on that identification data point in the very beginning and the entry point. And then once we have validated product data, it opens up us the ability to work with a number of companies and partners and be a part of an ecosystem, which is really cool.
Well, I was taking a look at your website. It looks like you guys have a really slick dashboard. What are the upside opportunities for your business? I know we were talking a little bit about medical globally.
Yeah, so the biggest thing we focused on is we really pull back you start to get into this industry, you really start to understand, a lot of people forget this is a federally banned narcotic, right? This in the US. This is a limited and restricted narcotic around the world. So global expansion really is going to need to focus medically, right? And medicine, the medical industry at large doesn't really look at cannabis as a medicine today. So we're seeing a huge divide between practitioners and their comfort level for prescribing cannabis. And we work with some of the top cannabis doctors and are really starting to work with some of the large hospital institutions, and everybody has the desire, because 9 out of 10 patients going into pain clinics are asking about cannabis as something for their use. But it's not just about hey, identifying it for what's going to work, but it's also making sure that there's no counterindications on their other medications, right? So that's where the kind of pharmaceutical or big pharmacy strategy and shoppers comes in and goes, yeah, sorry guys, we need way more information on this before we are going to be really comfortable with the industry. And hopefully our work with our production partners, and we just announced Tilray yesterday, and Afria last week, and WeedMD, and all those guys who've been amazing. Every single one of them have really stepped up to the plate and said, yeah, this is important to us. What we can do is open up the medical market further, which in a lot of cases we think globally will hopefully help proliferate this industry further.
And what is Secure Strain? Can you talk a little bit about that name and what that means?
So when you're a technology company, you're always building products, right? Yeah. So when we first started the company, we named the company Blockstrain, and we named the platform Blockstrain. We're not very creative, but we, when we started to make the transition and realized that we wanted to expand beyond, we knew that there were opportunities outside of cannabis that we wanted to be able to take advantage of in the future, right? So, but the core platform that runs and operates today was built for the cannabis industry. It's original code, line 1 out, as my partner always likes to say. He's like, I wrote very first 0 and 1. The reality of the situation is that when we focus on cannabis, strain security is the key. So strain secure became the natural name that we wanted to go with, and that's what we're deploying now.
And what is it, from genome to?
Genome to sale. So the terminology seed to sale is always what we is thrown around, but we all know that you don't actually do seed to sale in cannabis. It's clone-based propagation, right? So because you're doing clone-based propagation, that leads down to how do you know it's the same product?
Right.
No matter what, the chemistry may change because of all kinds of epigenetics and environmental conditions and other things, but the genetics won't. So as long as we're making this a consistent product, and if the product's changing, no problem. The patients can be informed, the doctors can be informed, but they know that it's legal, it's consistent, and then for the cultivators and the breeders, it allows them to, if their plants are changing over time, they can kind of start to understand why. Have a little bit more information on their own internal operations.
And are you one of a number of companies doing this, or where do you stand in the solution?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think we're out front.
Okay.
I mean, it's always nice to say that. I do know there's a couple companies that we've started to see. You start to see decks.
Playing catch up.
Yeah, you start to get partners of ours will start to send us proposals that have our logo or former logo.
Really?
As competitors. Yeah. So, but
Wild West.
It's good. I mean, competitive
Yeah.
drives you, right? It drives innovation. It gets you out. It makes you perform at a higher level. The other thing that we've seen is even some of the companies that would be kind of deemed as initially competitors, we've had some nice conversations with about, hey, look, this isn't competitive because maybe we're more collaborative, right? And so then you look at the synergistic opportunities of integrating technology, because that's the one thing that we've seen is we've got to build an ecosystem that works collectively amongst them all. There's not going to be one company that's going to, it doesn't work like that in any industry. Like Microsoft's big, but so is IBM, and so is Google, and these big companies still have to work and operate with one another. I remember when we used to all have Macintosh and they wouldn't talk to the Microsoft Windows
Right.
and all that. So it just goes to show that in business you've got to have the ability to play nicely with everyone, and that's really where we kind of live and breathe and the way we like to operate.
Well, it sounds like you guys are doing some really great things, and you have a solution to a problem that I think is going to help a lot of people.
I really
So
appreciate it.
thanks for your time, Robert. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Thank you as well.
21 Filthy. 21 Filthy.